Hey you guys, it's Amy Gretchen. Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be doing a layout using Ali Edwards' fabric story kit. So this is the fabric themed kit. This came out on February 15th, so you have until March 15th to snag this if you are not already a subscriber. And if you are, hopefully you are enjoying playing with these products as much as I am. I really love the theme this month. I know when I heard fabric, I was like, challenged by it, challenged to think creatively. And what I noticed is once I really started thinking about it, just a lot of stories started coming. So hopefully that's happening to you guys as well. I was also really loving the color palette. So I'm excited to jump in and play with these. So I think most of the cards I might actually use the cards on this. Let me just kind of explain what I might do with this. So I was really inspired, this layout was really inspired by the word woven. And then as I was writing my journaling, this word unravel came out. And so those are the things that I was kind of thinking of. And so something that I was considering doing, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to maybe use these cards or not, but I was thinking that I could maybe do like a weave pattern through this title card, which is why I printed out two, and I haven't done it before, so we'll see. It's gonna be a trial by error, so hopefully it'll work out the first time I do it. But this is gonna be a 6x8, but I was also thinking of weaving some of these patterns from the cards through the pages or through the paper and kind of leaving it open-ended as if it was unraveling. I don't know if that makes sense. I think I just need to go ahead and like jump in and get started and even see if this will work out. One of the other things I was kind of hoping to use was the stories, but as I'm looking at it, the stories looks like it might be a little too big. Maybe not. I was gonna say it might be a little too big here. Like I said, this is gonna be a 6x8, so this is actually gonna, I am planning on this being flush with the top, this photo, if it works out that way. So I'm kind of thinking about adding this, and if this is not gonna work out, it might not, like this, then I might just do a 4x4 photo. I like the idea of that, or maybe I could do this. I was gonna say I could always print that 4x4. I could always make this an 8x10. Excuse me, not 8x10, 8.5x11 piece of paper. I could just change that. I kind of wish the stories was a little bit smaller, but I could actually get the digital version. I have the digital version because I get both the kit and the stamp kit, so I get the digital version as well. So I could just print this out and make it a little bit smaller. I could also add a stamp. I think she has a stamp that has stories on it somewhere. I've got a stash. So I don't know. That's one of the things I was thinking of, and maybe I could stitch. But I'm really excited about this like weave pattern. So I want to play around with that. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started. The first thing that you want to make sure and do is whatever you're working on or whatever it is that you're going to weave, you need two of them. So print two. And you're going to cut one horizontal and you're going to cut one vertical. But before I get started with this piece of paper, I realized I need to cut it out to a 6x8. So I've started the cut there because I had some crop marks, and then I'm going to take it off camera to my big cutter and just go ahead and finish that cut. Then I want to do the horizontal cuts. The vertical cuts. And I decided that I wanted those vertical cuts not to go all the way through the paper. So that's why you can see that I'm only going to a certain point and then I'm stopping, and I'm definitely trying to go through the entire word because that's what I want to look woven. And I'm also cutting at 1/4 of an inch. So luckily with this trimmer, you can see those red lines. Those red lines are all at 1/4 of an inch. And so I'm just cutting one and then moving over 1/4 of an inch and cutting it again. And I'm doing it until I've gone through the entire word. I'm not going through the type at all. And it will look, you'll understand what I'm talking about once I start weaving this pattern together. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my extra piece of paper, so the other print, and I'm going to cut horizontal lines, and I'm actually just cutting all the way through, and I'm continuing to cut at 1/4 of an inch. Now, you could do whatever size that you wanted, but I chose 1/4 of an inch just because it would be easy because of those red marks on my trimmer, and also because that word is so small, I wanted to make sure that you'd be able to see the weave once I'm finished. All right, so now that I've got all my pieces together, I'm going to be able to begin my weave. But first, I realized that I didn't cut high enough to be able to go through all the way through that L. And so I'm just cutting a little bit more at the top, but I'm not going all the way through the piece of paper. So the next thing is the weave, and it's not hard to do. You just have to make sure that you know where you're at in the word. So I'm starting with the very top of the L, and I'm weaving that through in and out. And then I'm going to skip a piece, and then I'm going to go to the next piece. So you can see actually here, I picked up something wrong. So I'm creating a puzzle. I think that was part of the V. But you can see that I'm skipping the L, and then I'm moving on to the next piece, and then I'm going to weave that in. So you want to do every other cut, if that makes sense. And it will make sense because as you're weaving it through, it won't fit in the puzzle, and so you'll know that you've got the wrong piece. So that's what this is all about. It's just really about putting a puzzle piece together. So you can see then I'm going to skip one, and then you can kind of see the E in the camera sitting there at the top. So now I'm going to skip that and then go to the next one, which is the little edge pieces. And you're going to see that I'm just going to weave back and forth in and out of those papers. So it's going to create a weave pattern. And I'm going to continue to do this until I go all the way down. Now I'm not going to speed through this because I want you to be able to watch what I'm doing and kind of get an understanding of how to do that weave pattern. I'm not worrying about taping anything in place yet. You'll see that I do that once I get everything together. I just want to make sure that I'm not making any mistakes before I actually start taping things down. But it's really easy. If you know how to weave, it's just under one, over one, under one, over one, and then you do the opposite with the next one. So really, I think the most complicated thing about this process is just making sure that you're picking up the right piece. And it will be really obvious to you if you're not, because it won't fit and it won't look like a weave there. So hopefully that makes sense. One thing that I wanted to let you guys be aware of, you can see that I actually cut a line that is above the text. So you can see that I didn't cut through the text, but I kind of skipped the text and then I went above the text. So I just thought that would be a fun play instead of just doing the inch and a half on the outside. So that's something that you guys can do as well. If maybe you want to mat your photo, you could just make cuts all the way up without going through your text. And that's what's really great about using the cutter that I used, because you can lift up the blade and put it wherever you want on the piece of paper and then just cut up and then move it over. It's really, really easy. All right, like I said, I'm just going to continue to move through. You can see that I have one of those pieces had some of the text on there, but I am actually going to cut that off. So that's not going to be a part of the piece. Now you can see that I'm going to start making sure everything is exactly in place so that it reads really well, and just tape it on the back. I'm just using regular old masking tape, but you guys could use washi tape or whatever you wanted. I did have some washi tape on the back of it. You saw that I kind of pulled it off, but I didn't want anything to interfere with the white, so I decided to just use that clear masking tape. You could use whatever you guys have on hand. All right, you guys, as I continue to weave the strips of paper and then tape everything down, I thought I would tell you a little bit about the inspiration for this layout. So when I first heard the theme fabric, I was really drawn to the words woven and unraveled. So I kind of told you about that in the beginning. And the things that I kept thinking about were the stories that we weave into our lives and how sometimes those aren't necessarily positive, or that they can be detrimental to us. And sometimes what we need to is unravel that story, or unravel those threads in our life, and then create new stories or create new beliefs. So that's really what this journaling is all about. I had a brother die when I was 16 years old, and unfortunately it hit me really hard. And the stories that I told myself were not necessarily positive things. And so I held on to those for years and years and years. And it took a lot of time and a lot of effort to understand what I had done, and then to unravel all of that so that I could then begin to weave new and more positive stories and more positive beliefs into my life. So that's really where this inspiration is coming from. And one of the things that I really want to do at the bottom of this, you can kind of see that I'm leaving it open. So I'm doing that because I want to be able to feel like I've unraveled and now I'm weaving new stories in place. So hopefully that makes sense. Very symbolic. It's not like something that you would expect someone else to understand, but I just, I like the thought of it as being open and not like a complete weave. All right, so you can see that now I'm starting to trim off a lot of those pieces. I went ahead and I used an X-Acto and just went right along with the cut line that I already did. And everything's taped in place in the back, so nothing's going to fall out. And then you can see that I just went ahead and cut some in the back as well, just to clean everything up. You could go ahead and cut more. You could tape everything down so it's not getting in the way, but for now, that's totally fine. One of the other things that I was thinking of in terms of this layout, and that's why I kind of grabbed over those pattern papers, is I was thinking of weaving in a different color. You can see that I pulled over this strip of pink, and I thought that it would be cool and very symbolic to then weave in, instead of it being white, that I'm weaving in a different color, you know, as to say, this is the moment that I began changing my story. And that's another thing that you can think about in terms of leaving the weave open at the end, is we are open-ended and we're constantly evolving and we're constantly telling ourselves new stories. So that's another way of thinking about it, which means you could have color pieces throughout this entire thing to represent different parts of your story or different experiences that you have gone through. And I believe that's what I was thinking of when I grabbed over this green piece, that this is just another story that I'm weaving into my life, or another experience or another change, however so I'm just you want to think of it. But ultimately, I don't end up using the green just because I really want the ends to be open. I love the idea of those open ends representing how our life is open and how we are open to change, and we are open to adding new stories and new experiences as we continue on through life. All right, you guys, so back to what I'm doing in the video. So you saw in the very beginning that my photo was a 3x4. And I decided to print it out one more time and make it a little bit bigger. So I printed it to a 4x4, and then I cut it down a little bit more than that. It's definitely not exactly a 4x4. So I just probably cut off a 1/2 of an inch or maybe 3/8 of an inch or something like that from the photo. And then I pulled over some of the chipboard pieces. So some of the ones that I really liked with this woven together. And then the other one that I think I end up using says Threads of Life. So I was kind of messing around with putting one of those pieces there. You can see that I went ahead and I took out that green piece that I was talking about just to kind of leave that bottom open. And I'm trying to decide where I want to add that chipboard piece. And as I was looking at the right side, I realized that it was missing something. And so I thought that it would be good to add some texture. So I've decided that I'm going to weave in the top of that corner. I'm not going to go all the way down, but just kind of like 2 inches maybe down the side. So I am cutting, I think it's only 3 strips, and then I'm just going to use some paper that was left over, and I'm going to just weave in and out. You can see that my trimmer didn't cut it so great, so I just cut it with my X-Acto. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to weave more papers in. I'm going to keep it really basic. I'm going to have it going all the way to the top, and just create a little bit of a pattern and for something for the chipboard to sit onto, because I'm feeling like that is where I want to place that chipboard. I really want to have something on the right side of the layout, something for that chipboard piece, as you see there, to kind of sit on. So I really love the way that looked. I love the way that just kind of fits with everything. And so I was pretty happy about that. All right, guys, so I'm actually almost done with this layout, but I kept looking at that space right under Unravel, and I really wanted something there. I actually bought the wood veneers that was an add-on to this story kit, but none of the words really worked with Unravel. That would have gone perfectly there. I could have stamped something, you know, maybe on a piece of paper or something and added it there, but I didn't end up doing that. What I did is I took the piece that I cut off my photo and I just stuck it on there. And because of those horizontal lines, you literally can't tell at all. So I was really happy with that. I think if I was going to revisit this, I probably would have added a word. I would have maybe maybe stamped something out and cut it out and added it or something, because I really like the idea of having like another piece to that title. So I'm just about there, you guys. The last thing I wanted to add was the date. So you can see that my photo is from a long time ago. I realized I haven't quite addressed that yet. That photo is from the 80s, and the journaling is from, like, I don't know, right after the kit came out. I think I worked on the journaling and the layout on the same day. So I just wanted to add the date on there just because obviously the photo is different than the journaling. So I wanted to make note of that. And because I felt like it needed a little something more down there in that corner, I decided to go ahead and stamp it one more time. All right, you guys, so I am completely finished with this spread or this layout. Hopefully you're able to get some inspiration from this, or at the very least, that you guys will give this weaving technique a try. It was a lot of fun, and I think it looks really cool with that type, with the title. I also really hope you are enjoying the fabric story kit, whether it's the theme or it's the products that are inspiring you to tell your stories. I hope that you are getting them down on paper. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we will catch you in the next video. Bye.